Good afternoon, people. It's C1 the Good Fella coming at you with my news blog for today. Today's date, August the 18th, 2012. This one's just about 3 stories that I picked up on off my boxing source, BoxRec, which I like to use for boxing news and also checking out boxing profiles. If you've never checked it out, check it out. It's a good little site. Anyway, my first one is in regard to cash and medals that you'll see actually titled on there, where Aiba, International Amateur Boxing Association, have actually been accused by the British Broadcasting Corporation, which is the BBC in England, for cashing and bribing for medals. They actually put a documentary out there, I believe it was in September 2011, in regard to paying the Aiba committee $10 million for 2 gold medals at Azerbaijan. Let's have a little look at this. For 2 gold medals in London 2012. Both Aiba, after this, both Aiba's committee and also the International Olympic Committee did their own investigations, and after extensive research and findings, they found no wrongdoing. So there you go, which is I believe a blessing in disguise. But on the eve of the semi-finals, after it was already found out there was no wrongdoing there, BBC thought it was wise to put out the same allegation on their website online, just when Azerbaijan, ironically, had both a super heavyweight and a heavyweight in the semi-finals. But following that, both of them fighters actually lost and got a bronze, but we'll never know now whether it was corruption, and then fighters may have possibly threw the fight through fear of making their country look bad if they actually won a gold. So there you go, that's my view on that. Dr. Ching Ku Wu, which sounds like something often a kung fu flick, is the president of Aiba, instructed PSB Law to take legal action against the British Broadcasting Corporation after that little stint of putting out that clip online, because it is actually liable. If you are proven out there, for you that don't know, that you're wrongly accusing somebody and then broadcasting that to the world, that person has actually done something they haven't done, you're liable for that. You're liable for damages for defacing and destroying the reputation of that organization, person, whatever. After this came out, Dr. Jin Ku Wu put out a statement after processing the legal action claim, stating that he's worked 6 hard years, which he has done, after the previously corrupt administration kind of destroyed boxing, and he's done whatever he can to relieve them scandals and corruption within the sport, and he's actually extremely disappointed with the BBC after this, as he believes it may actually have an adverse effect on the sport. Next story is about Amir King Khan, or in fact I'm going to leave that story till last even. While we're touching on the Olympics, I'm just going to touch on Nicola Adams. Plans on competing in Brazil in 2016 in Rio de Janeiro. That would make her 33 years old at the time of the games. She plans on winning an amateur world title, as does her stablemate and super heavyweight GB gold medalist Anthony Joshua. There's only 2 people that have actually won the world championships so far. That's Frankie Gavin and Savannah Marshall. So if they both do that, they're both setting further history and completing something that only a few people can actually lay claim to in GB or Great Britain, UK. She actually dominated the former world champion Kang Khan in the final. I was following her on Twitter as she was following me, putting tweets out there, and actually stated way before that tournament was there. She's previously sparred at the Ingle camp, and you could tell she was on for greatness. Her foot movement, her attitude even more so, was brilliant. I actually wish she did more alley shuffles and a bit more showmanship, but that's because I'm an Ingo fighter. But there you go. In the final, she actually fought Kankan. She dropped it twice, but actually went on to win 16-7, which was a dominating performance. And even after the fight, she just dealt it extremely well. She's extremely humble, and I just hope people out there follow her on Twitter at Nicola Adams, as well as other GB squads. Look out for them on Twitter. The Olympic Committee planning on having a further 3 weights, which will bring the women's boxing up to 6 in total for next Olympics in Rio, which I believe is brilliant. I've got a daughter who boxes. I know ladies that box, and believe it or not, technically they're just as good as the men, if not better. Don't ask me why, but I just believe so. If they have 6 weights, that'll make it up to 7 in total, which will be on a par. Well, I mean 6 in total, sorry, which will be on a par with men who have 7. Either way, Nicola Adams, Natasha Jonas, and Savannah Marshall are both boosted the sport in super way. I put women's sport on the map in regard to boxing. I've no doubt that we'll see an increase in regard to participation, interest, and also the profile of the sport. And I think it's an ever-growing sport, and which I love and I'm passionate about. So whichever way is doing it, man, woman, or child, it's only good. The last story that I'm going to touch upon is the Amir King Khan story. His next move could be checkmate, and the reason I say that, his next move is vital. Apparently he's given Freddie Roach an ultimatum in regard to spending more time with him and him alone, and not his other stablemate fighters. What do you think? I believe another loss or a bad showing could be worse than his actual Garcia defeat. As he contemplates his next move, let's look at his options. Right, he's switched trainers 3 times already. He's gone with Oliver Harrison, who's currently got Martin Murray. Took him to a world title shot against Felix Sturm. He then moved to George Rubio, but George Rubio is a person that actually opted and said that he would like the Braders Prescott fight, and you know how that ended up turning out in defeat. After that, he then went to Freddie Roach to rebuild his career and moved from Bolton, England to Los Angeles, and in California went to the wild card. Let's look at Roach's credentials. He's got excellent credentials. He had 53 pro fights, which I couldn't believe he had 53 pro fights. That's a lot. 40 wins, 15 by knockout, only 13 losses, which considering he's got 53 fights, there's only a few losses. He fought under Eddie Futch, which is legendary trainer of just a few. I'm going to say one, which is Joe Fraser. Enough said. With 5 years for Eddie Futch's assistant, and in that time he's amassed great experience by working with 27 current and former world champions. I'm just going to name a few for your people out there that are probably watching my video that know me, or just have clicked on it randomly but don't know boxing. There's a lot of people out here on this wall that he's possibly worked with as well, including Oscar De La Hoya, Manny Pacquiao, Mike Tyson, Steve Collins representing, you know, UK, and Bernard Hopkins, just to name a few. If you want to check out his favourite credentials, just go on Wikipedia or Google or something like that, type Freddie Roach in and look at the list of fighters he's worked with. He's got brilliant credentials. Not to mention that he was also named Trainer of the Year in 2003, 2006, 2008, 2009 and 2010. So it can't be no fluke. Right now, he's currently working with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who's a monster middleweight, who's due to fight Sergio Martinez in September. And yeah, it's a big down from like 14 stone to 11. That's another story anyway. He's currently working with Manny Pacquiao as well, so he divides his time between 3 fighters. I agree that you do need trainers to spend one-on-one time with you, but the amount of time he's been at the wild card now, he must surely be able to be independent and kind of work on his own, or possibly hire his own assistant and work on certain things that he believes he needs to work on. Because I think fighters who just rely on trainers alone, stupid. The reason for it is because I've done my boxing coaching awards, I've been judging coaching awards. Whatever helps you, your own mind, to think for yourself, that's what you need to do. You don't need to rely on other fighters. other coaches. You need to rely on yourself, your own initiative. Also, I've just put this out there as a rhetorical question: train with the best to be the best. I mean, he's trained with Freddie Roach, and under this, while he's been training with Freddie Roach, let's look at the fighters he's actually won. Marco Antonio Barrera, legend, enough said. Zab Judah, former world champion, and also next in line to fight Lamont Peterson. Marcus Madonna, which were a brilliant fight, one of the fights of the year. Paul McCluskey, bit FA, could have probably fought him again and just put that wrong right. And he could still possibly fight him as a comeback fight. And also Paulie Magic Man Malagnaji, who's now a current world champion. He beat him and stopped him in 11 rounds. So if you look at him, these fighters that he's actually fought are European and world level fighters under Freddie Roach. Does he really need to go to another trainer, or does he need to actually reflect on his actual loss? Does Khan need one more trainer, or does he actually need to listen more? I mean, would Freddie Roach have told him to go out there and slug it with Daniel Swift Garcia? Because I actually was under the impression after I watched it on Sky Sports and on the internet and YouTube, ES News and all them people out there that I'm currently following on YouTube, that Freddie Roach said that he didn't need to stay there too long. He needs to be in and out of his attacks. And I actually said on my Facebook, Twitter and all them accounts that when I first watched the first round, he's starting too quick, he's staying there too long and he's going to get clipped. Inevitably, he got clipped and he got knocked out, so there you go. Let's look at his options though if he does decide to leave. Apparently, there's only a few people that he could actually go with who's got Freddie Roach's credentials. That's Emmanuel Stewart, who's worked with 26 world champions. He's currently working with Vladimir and Vitaly Klitschko. And ironically, before Vladimir actually went with Emmanuel Stewart, he had 3 KO losses, and since he's moved with Emmanuel Stewart, he hasn't been knocked out. So that can either come with a fluke, or I don't really believe so. Emmanuel Stewart is a great trainer. Let's move on to the next one, Floyd Mayweather Sr. He's been 3 times Trainer of the Year. He's worked with, obviously, Floyd Mayweather Jr. right there, his son. You can see Roger in the background. It's hard to do this with his camera back to front, but still, if you look on the wall, you got Floyd's legacy on the wall. Floyd Sr. was all a part of that, so you know, I don't really need to talk about that. Floyd Mayweather's a legend, enough said. He's also worked with Layla Ali. Is Muhammad Ali's daughter. If you've never seen her, check her out on YouTube. She's a brilliant woman boxer, touching on Nicola Adams and Natasha Jonas and Savannah Marshall subject, women's boxing. She's 3-time world champion. If you look at her training with Floyd Mayweather Sr. on YouTube, you can see a brilliant pad work. She's brilliant. She's a role model for me, not just as a boxer, but as a person as well. She's really down to earth and brilliant. So there you go, that's my news for today. My name's Clinton at See You on the Goodfella. You've watched me. If you've got any news or subjects that you'd like me to talk about, just send me some questions, send me some messages, comment. You can see on the wall board that I made back here, I love boxing, I'm passionate about boxing. So any questions that you may have, or if you've got any views or opinions, get back to me. Peace, See You on the Goodfella.